Google Analytics is the world's leading digital marketing analytics platform, but the majority of organizations using it don't fully understand it. They use it to a degree, but without the depth of understanding that they need to really get the insights into things like who their audience is, how they found your website, and what they did on your website. Now, this data can be used to increase the effectiveness of all your marketing activities. And it can also reduce the time that you spend on your marketing on activities which aren't providing a good rate of return. So this seminar is to help you make the most of analytics as a business or an organization. So the things Google Analytics can help you with, understand, are what type of people visit your website? How did they find your website? What did they do on your website? Did they do what you expected them to do? Did they convert? So it can provide you a lot of useful information, but I find commonly when I'm looking at people's analytics that it hasn't been set up correctly. And if it hasn't been set up correctly, you will have poor quality data. I also find there's a lack of understanding of how it works, and that can lead to a misinterpretation of the data. And a lot of companies have either no conversions set up or haven't really checked their conversions. They don't really know what those conversions are. And if you haven't got any conversions or they're not well set up, you will be missing a core part of the data that you need to get clear insights into what's happening, so you can identify the things which you can improve and identify the things that you may be wasting your time with, and identify the things that you're doing really well so you can do more of them. So during this seminar, what we're going to cover is how Google Analytics works, how to use Google Analytics, some key issues with the data that analytics provides you that you should know about. And we're going to have a quick look at the setup within analytics, how you should be setting it up. We're going to spend a bit of time looking at goals and funnels, and we're going to have a go at setting up the goal. And we'll have a quick look through some conversion reports so that you can understand those better. So my name is Martin Woodfield. I'm a digital marketing trainer as well as a consultant. I provide training courses largely work for M Training, but I also do work for other organisations such as University of Salford, providing training courses. M Training is a fairly large training company in the north of the UK, but we are now just opening an office in Birmingham. So we own courses in Manchester, Leeds, Liverpool, and now Birmingham. We also offer obviously online courses, and we also run private courses throughout the country, and we've even done some abroad. And we have very small class sizes because it's quite practical based size courses where we show people how to do things. So our class sizes are 6 or less. At the moment, due to COVID, the class sizes, classroom-based sizes are all 4. So before we get going, a couple of quick caveats. The information I provide here is illustrative, and it's a guide. It isn't really meant to be advice because I don't know enough about your businesses to be able to make that advice, and therefore we can't really accept any responsibility for what you do with this data. I'm just trying to give you hopefully some good takeaways, some clear insights into analytics, some good takeaways that you can take away, think about, and check out on your analytics and make sure that you're using it more effectively. So we'll start with how it works. How does Google Analytics work? Google Analytics is a page-based tracking system. If you create an account with Google Analytics, it will give you some code. that code is then put on your website in your pages. In things like WordPress, there's often a place you can just paste it in, or if you're using Magento or Shopify, again, you can usually paste it in yourself. You may be that you need to give it to your developers, but it is literally a paste job. So Google Analytics requires this code to be on your pages. It also requires the visitor to your website to have JavaScript enabled, otherwise it won't work. And it pretty much requires you to have cookies enabled as well for it to work fully. So it's a page-based tracking system. One of the issues with analytics is it measures people visiting page to page, but there are things which will happen on page which you then have to measure separately. Those things are called events, such as I click on a button to watch a video, or I click on a pay by PayPal button. Because if I click on a pay by PayPal button, I will disappear off into PayPal and the session will be ended. So these are called in-page events. Because Google Analytics is a page-based tracking system, you have to add extra code into those events. So anything clickable can be tracked, but you have to do a bit of extra work to get that done. Now the code Google gives you, currently it looks like this, and you can, so you copy and paste it. You should put it into the head section of your website. You can implement it in other ways. Rather than just using that, you can use Google Tag Manager to implement the code, or things like WordPress. Often you just need to put in the UA stands for Universal Analytics, UA number in, and the content management system creates its own version of this code, which can be used. Now you can go and see the code on your website, and if I go and call up somebody's website. So let's have a look. Let's look at, here we are, Taste Argentina. If I go right click and I go view page source, I can see the source code of the page. And if I go Control F to do a search and I type in UA hyphen, you'll see that, right, okay, this is a bit different. It's probably, this I think is a Shopify site. So you'll see there's a Universal Analytics number in there and the tracking ID is here. So that's a slightly unusual one. If I try another one, let's say this Accountants, Armstrong Watson Accountants, I right click here, go view page source. You can do it to your site, to anybody else's site. Control F, UA hyphen. Okay, I can see that it is in here. There's the more standard implementation of the Google Analytics tracking code. It's on the page. It's on every page. And you'll see actually this one here is just in the head section, which is where it should be. You don't want it necessarily at the bottom of the page, because what happens when I visit this page, this lines of codes get read. And you know, if it's quite a lot of code for it to read, there is a chance I get the opportunity to click on a link on that page and move off it before the tag is triggered. So that's effectively how Google Analytics works. Google gives you the code, you sit it in the head section of your web pages. If you're using a content management system, don't worry when you create a new page, because it's a bit like the menu. When you create a new page on your content management system, you don't have to think, oh, I'll drop the menu in. It's already in there. And that's true for the Gatsby code, but it isn't on every page. If you have PDF pages, you may think don't have a menu. There is no Gatsby code on those. So if I want to track that, I would have to put tracking code around the download PDF button, for example. So that's essentially how it works. And I've showed you there, view page source on the website, to how you can go and hunt it down. By the way, if you're doing UA hyphen, that will work for some sites, for others won't. You'd have to type in GTM if you've done it through Google Tag Manager, and you should be able to see your code. So what happens, I load that page because I go and visit it. The Gatsby code, Google Analytics tracking code, goes off to Google data collection servers in America, and it brings back some more code, some JavaScript. That JavaScript then runs some scripts, and it will find out information such as your IP address, From your IP address, it can determine things like what country and city you came from, for example. It will pick up things like how you got to the website. Did you come via a referrer, or was it an organic search, or did you arrive direct? What browser or device you're on, what the URL is, the page that you landed on, etc. So Google Analytics will pick up all this information, and it will pass that information back to the Google data collection servers. It also will set cookies on your browser. So we'll cover cookies next. And then at midnight, once it's gathered all that data, it will it will actually generate reports. It generates reports about midnight. In America, roughly around 8 o'clock in the morning here, you should be able to log in and see what happened yesterday. If I try to see what's happened so far today, I can't see that in Google Analytics because the reports haven't been generated. Now, there is a real-time report, so I can see what's happening right now, but I can't see what's happened so far today because those reports aren't generated. Now, you don't have access to this raw data. You have a bit more access if you have the paid-for version of Google Analytics, but not many people do. When it generates those reports, it can also apply filters, and you can add filters to it. And one of the filters you should add is to exclude your own internal staff. So you should be going into Google Analytics, making sure you've filtered out your internal staff so that you get nice clean data. You may also have to apply additional filters as well to help clean it up. So that's effectively how Google Analytics works. The cookies we mentioned, so it can apply multiple cookies, but the three main ones to think about are the user cookie. So a user cookie is a cookie, by the way, is a string of letters and numbers, and it's randomly generated, so it's a pretty long one. It sits on your browser, and it's how Google will recognize you if you come back. So a user cookie, think of that as a visitor. And that has an expiry time of 2 years. So if I return to your website on the same browser, 6 months later, it will say I'm a returning user because it's already seen me once before and added that cookie to me. So that's kind of how Google knows whether I'm a new user or a returning user. However, there is a problem with there. You may have thought of it already, what happens if I come back on a different device? What happens if I was looking at your website on a mobile and then I change over and have a look on desktop? Well, that would no longer work. There would be no user cookie on my browser. So it would say I was a new user. So what generally happens is users are overcounted because most people these days have multiple devices. So users are generally overcounted and returning users are undercounted. Now there's also a session cookie. A session, think of a session as a visit. So somebody arrives on your website, they're visiting your website. Google puts a session cookie on them, and that has an expiry time of 30 minutes. What happens there is Google will put the session cookie on them. I visit a page, then I visit another page, then I visit another page. Every time I visit a new page, it resets that cookie. So it started to count down from 30 minutes. If I then leave the website and go to another website, then the session is ended. Alternatively, I just leave my page there. It's counting down to 30 minutes. Once it gets to 30 minutes, it kills the session. So if somebody just leaves a tab open of your things, eventually it will count down to 30 and kill the session, 30 minutes. There are also campaign cookies. If I click on a link from something like an email campaign through something like MailChimp or MailMonitor or .mailer, for example, I click on those, it will allocate a campaign cookie to me, and that will allow me to see backwards in time for up to 6 months where I may come from. That I came originally from a specific campaign, and that's because the campaign cookie has a default expiry time of 6 months. So that's effectively how it works. Other things which apply campaign cookies would be Google Ads, and sometimes you can create your own versions using URL builders to create campaign cookies. So you can get your longer tracking back to see how well a particular campaign did. I'm going to give you a few definitions now. Learning Google Analytics is, there's a language to its own there. So we already know what a session is. A session is a visit. We know users are visitors, sort of. They're really unique browsers who visit us. A source is, where did they come from? Was it Facebook? Was it Instagram? Was it Google? Was it moneysupermarket.com? How did they refer to our website? How did they get to the website? And that's the source. The medium is, what type of site was it? So for example, it could be organic is the medium. The source could be Google organic, Bing organic, Yahoo organic. So you kind of see how it works, source and medium. Events, remember, events are things that you have decided to track using by tagging things like buttons or anything they can click on. So if I come to your website and I click on your phone number, that won't be tracked by default in Google Analytics. You have to put a bit of code around it, which you can do manually, or you can go in and use Tag Manager, tag that phone number, I click on it, and then Google Analytics will receive that data and you'll be able to see that in your Google Analytics. So those are events, on-page events. Goals are different. Goals are things that you decide you want to count as a goal. Now, a goal could be an event. If you wanted to say, I want to click on that phone number and I want to count that as a goal, that would be a standard goal. Also, very commonly, goals are things like any thank you pages. I arrive on your website, fill in a form, get to a thank you page, you count that as a goal. So you decide what goals are and you have to set them up. They could be events, they could be what we call destination pages, such as thank you pages, etc., and a few other things. If you're an e-commerce site, like that Taste Argentina site we just saw, and you're using the e-commerce platform, then you'll be wanting to turn on e-commerce reporting in analytics. But that will require you setting up your website to pass data through to Google Analytics so you can get details of things like transactions, revenue, products you've sold, etc. within your analytics. Now, a conversion is somebody completes one of your goals, either an e-commerce goal or a standard goal. So conversions are people who complete the goals that you've decided you want to track. Now, how should you use analytics? The key is kind of here: measurement, reporting, change management. You're going to use Google Analytics to measure things, whether it's how effective your Facebook campaign is, or how many people get from this page to this page. You're going to measure things. And you might then go and need to report it. So report this thing to the relevant people. How's our website doing? How are our marketing campaigns doing? The thing which, and a lot of people do that, and that's fine, but one of the key things about analytics is it's really a change management tool. What you're going to do is say, this is what we're currently doing. You're going to benchmark it. You're going to identify some improvements you want to make, and then you are going to see, did you make it better? Did you make it worse? So it's really a change management and reporting tool. So what can you make better? Well, you can make better your website designs, the pathways through your website, the accessibility of your website. You can improve your marketing campaigns, whether it's your Google Ads campaigns or your affiliate campaigns or SEO campaigns, etc. You can use it to improve your targeting, because you can help you identify who your best users are, the best visitors, the ones that convert by demographics, geographics, the device, etc. Things like interests. You can also use it to improve your conversions, because you'll be able to see where people are dropping off. I've sent lots of traffic to my website. Where are people leaving, etc. And come up with theories on, and then put tests in to see whether you can improve your conversion. You can also use analytics because you can use it to identify how well a campaign is doing. You can also see how badly it's doing, and that will hopefully allow you to identify savings in costs, savings in times you can do your marketing, so you can spend more of the time on the activities which generate better results. You can also, it's slightly more abstract, you can also use it to identify new product development opportunities. I could, let's say if I was, Leeds University, I think I've got their website up here. So Leeds University, they will have lots of different degrees, undergraduate degrees, masters, etc. I might want to know what's the most viewed products. What demand do we have of these products? When are people arriving? What pages are they looking at our degree programs? What's the most popular? I might also then be able to look externally at things like Google Keyword Planner to identify what people are searching for in general. And I might say, is there a mismatch? Do we get lots of people interested in this course on ours, which is great, but have we got courses where there's no interest or very little interest? What reason is that? Is it because nobody's searching for it? But maybe if I look in the keyword planner, I say, yeah, lots of people are looking for it. And that's telling me there's an opportunity there, but one we're not capitalizing on because maybe we're not high enough in Google, or maybe we haven't promoted it enough, built the awareness of that course enough. So these are things, so I can then say, okay, that's a worthwhile course we can invest, or maybe nobody does search for it. If nobody does search for it, then I might go, actually, we need to adapt this course to be something that somebody's interested in and wants. So yes, you can use it to improve your product development pipeline. You can also use it to increase engagement with your content. You can identify, let's say if you're running a big blog, you can identify what articles are the most popular, which ones are the most read, which ones seem to encourage, which landing pages encourage people to dig deeper rather than just reading one article, they went on to read others, etc. So you can use it to build engagement with your content. And for most of us here, we're probably what we're really after is increase inquiries, increase our sales, and increase our profitability. So Google Analytics can be used for all these activities. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole list of the things you can measure, but these are just some of the things that Google Analytics can give you answers about, such as which customer segments are the most valuable, what activities or campaigns led to the best conversion, what age or gender are the people who are looking at specific products or specific services? What devices are people using to engage with you? You can look at things like how good are we at driving customer loyalty and return customers? We can look at it, things like, what speed, have we got any speed issues on our website? What devices, what operating systems and browsers do we need to test the device on? So Google can give you a lot of answers to help you with your marketing. Now, when you come and look at your Google Analytics and how you're currently using it, I'm going to give you an example of a good way of using analytics. Let's say in your marketing plan, you have some objectives and you have some priorities of the top things you want to achieve. You can benchmark that currently. How well are we doing at achieving those at the moment? And you can benchmark them. And the important bit really is identifying some improvements. Now, Google unfortunately isn't going to make those suggestions. You go, this is what's happening. These are our objectives. Let's brainstorm it, use our minds to try and get some ideas of what we can do to improve the situation. So you identify several actions you're going to do, but then you're going to measure that. Did it make it better? Did it not make it better? Was it pretty indifferent? Did it make it worse? And then you can feed that back in and go, okay, we've tried that, that didn't work. We tried this did work. And you can start focusing on, again, another cycle where you go, okay, let's think of some more ideas of ways to improve things. And then we can keep having a go. And the idea is over time, through measurement and a more analytical method, you can improve your marketing, improve your website over time to increase conversion. So here's an example. We have one here which is increase the awareness of a new product is one objective. Another objective is we want to get more people to sign up to our newsletter or our mailing list, should I say. I might say, okay, currently we've got this brand new exciting product. Currently there's 12,000 people a month viewing that page, our new product page. But I want to increase that. We might say currently there's 300 people a month signing up to our newsletter. I know that because I can see it in my analytics, or I've created goals for it. Then my actions. These are the things I've decided to do to try and improve the situation. I want to increase the awareness of new product. So I'm going to increase the visibility of that new product on our key entry pages. You'll notice I say pages there. What people tend to do is they say, right, we'll tell them about it, and they put a big banner on the home page. And when I look in their analytics, I'm looking at their landing page report, and I'm saying, okay, if I look at your landing pages, I can see your home page. It might be the most popular landing page, but you had 10,000 visits that month, and only 2,000 of people of those actually landed on your homepage. The others landed deeper into your website. They didn't see the homepage, so your big banner for them didn't work. And I'm going, okay, well, let's identify what other pages would be good pages to put a graphic on saying, did you see our special offer? You might also say, okay, we're going to trial some pop-ups on the key exit pages. Google Analytics will tell you where people leave, and you can identify the ones you think are relevant, and you could then have a little pop-up on there, and let's say the pop-up waits for a period of inactivity. Let's say if somebody's not active on the page for 40 seconds, 50 seconds or whatever, you pop up a box and say, did you see our new product? So that, I imagine, will get more people to be aware of the new product, and it will hopefully take more people through to the new product page. But I'm going to measure it. How much did it do it? Was it very effective? Was it only very marginally effective? If it made virtually no difference, well, we can get rid of the pop-ups. This is how you should be using analytics. So my other objective was to increase the sign up to our mailing list. I benchmarked it and I said, what am I going to do about it? Okay, I'm going to reword this sign up. So rather than saying subscribe to our newsletter, which was always bad practice anyway, you're going to go, okay, sign up for the latest digital marketing tips, advice and help, and get some discounts on our courses. So I'm expecting that bit of wording to do better than subscribe to our newsletter. Let's measure it. How much better? Because maybe I'll try some other wordings and see if I can change that wording to be even more effective over time. I might even try an incentive that goes, okay, sign up to the M-Training mailing list and get the latest digital marketing news, latest tips, guides and advice, and win a free iPad. I might say, okay, that's a 3-month promotion, let's say. So I'm going to go, okay, an iPad's cost me maybe £450. And I'm going to say, okay, how many more sign-ups did we get above the average level? What was our uplift because I've added that incentive? Let's say, for example, we had previously 300 sign-ups a calendar month, and we jumped to 400 a calendar month over a 3-month period. That's going to be another 300, which we may have achieved through changing the text and in trialing an incentive. Now, the incentive might take the weight of that. We might say, okay, I've spent £450. We got 300 more sign-ups. I think, that has probably cost me, it's cost me £450 for the iPad, but is it worth it? Well, it's not much per sign up. So I'm thinking, well, it's only, I think it's about £1.50 a sign up. So I'm going, yeah, £1.50 for a sign up. That's a pretty good deal, probably. And I can make a decision based on that. So before we go any further, let's have a quick think about some of the issues. Some of them you may know about, some of them you don't. And sorry, we can't cover all the issues, data issues with analytics. There are quite a few others which you should know about as well. We've already mentioned the key one. The key issue with Google Analytics is cross-browser tracking. Cross-browser tracking, if I go from one device to another device, or even one browser to another browser on the same device, you will lose pretty much the tracking. Now, there are some exceptions if I'm signed into Google or whatever, but the general, you will lose a lot of that tracking. So somebody starts off, does a bit of research, what university degree you want, have a look at Leeds University's websites, have a look at a few degrees, and when they're getting a bit more serious and they're going to sign up for the open day, maybe they then jump on the desktop and they fill it in with their mum and dad, say, oh, let's fill in, get some, let's see what spaces we can get on the open day. You will have lost it. So you might have done some great work on Facebook and got some students onto your degree program courses and things like that. And then you're measuring conversion, how many sign up. But you've lost a chunk of them because they left and they didn't come back on the same browser. They came back a different browser and you've lost them. You've lost that tracking. So then you could say, oh, you might undercount how effective the Facebook was. So you have to bear that in mind. Another thing you should bear in mind is people don't always convert on their first visit. Now, how does Google deal with that? So for example, you'll see here, this is called a referral path report in analytics, and you can see them in your own analytics if you have conversion set up. Here, I'm only looking at people who converted. So line 14 here says that 13 people originally came via a referral website. So let's say in that university example, maybe they came from Student Room or something like that. They came from there, came in, looked at the Leeds University website, didn't buy, didn't sign up. They then came back organically and typed in Leeds University on the same device. If they lost a device, you wouldn't track them, but here I'm still tracking them because they're on the same device. They've typed in Leeds University and then they've signed up for the event. That's a conversion. Google will account for that conversion in pretty much all the reports as an organic conversion, not a referral. So it's called last click attribution. The technically correct is it's actually last non-direct click attribution. So here, these 11, it would actually still count those as organic conversions because there's something before direct. Here, those would be direct conversions. So you just have to bear in mind, what you really need to do is go into your conversion reports and look at things like your referral paths and look at your assisted conversion reports to get a better understanding of how it's going on. You don't have to do it every time you log in. You should just have a general understanding of how are people converting so that you know and you can bring these things into mind when you're making your decisions. Another thing which very few people think about is how does it calculate goal conversion rate? So goal conversion rate is a metric in analytics, and you'll see it on the usually one of the farthest columns in your reporting. So how does it calculate goal conversion rate? It's actually done by visits. So it's actually a session conversion rate, not a user conversion rate. So a session conversion rate means, let's say I visited that Argentinian wine website. I come once, have a look around, have a browse, think, oh, that was quite nice. I go away again, come back again, have another look around, go away again. This time I come and I buy a couple of bottles of wine. Google would count that as a 33% conversion rate. That's because there was 3 sessions and 1 conversion. But you could say, actually, I managed to convert Martin. It's a 100% conversion rate. So there is always a difference between user conversion rate and goal conversion rate. Goal conversion rate is the metric that Google Analytics uses. You can actually create a custom dimension of user conversion rate if you know what you're doing, and you can then see what the difference is. You can see here, it's not a massive difference, but there is a reasonable difference in terms of converting visits to converting users. Another big issue with analytics is I very often find that when I look at people's conversions, Also their general setup of analytics, I often find they aren't set up correctly. And if you don't have your conversions set up correctly, you can start making decisions based on data which is basically incorrect. So you do need to check out your conversions, make sure they're checked, they're actually set up correctly, they're tracking what you want, and then you can feel confident in your decision making. So let's have a quick look at the setup of Google Analytics. In Google Analytics, you have accounts, properties, and views. And I'll just show you what that looks like. To get to your admin in Google Analytics, you have to, these are all your reports down here. And down here is a cog. You click on that and you will get into your admin. Now, if you only have limited rights, because you can give people access, when you give people access to some of these analytics, you can determine, do they have full rights? Can they only edit? Or can they just read and analyze? So if they can only read and analyze, you won't get all this here. You won't be able to set up things. You need edit rights to be able to do some of these things. You need to, so when I'm looking at this, you'll see there's 3 columns. That's account. Account is really just based on login. So when I log in, I might have access to one or multiple accounts. And you can see here, I've got access to a lot of different accounts. Then I have a property, and a property is in effect a website. It can also be a mobile app, and it can be things like a YouTube channel, but normally is a property is a website. So in here, there's tracking info. I can go and get tracking code, etc. That's because all that's tracking is done at a property level, a website level. I can do things here such as link my website with a Google Ads account, for example. Here is audience definitions. I can create remarketing audiences here. Now a view is the subset. You can see here they've got 2, one all website data, one test view. If I jump here quickly to M Training's website, then you'll see, so here, we've got multiple views, and this is another way of navigating them. If I go to my master view with filters, you'll see here the ones I've got an all website data view. That is everything, all the data in that one view. I have another view here called master view with filters. What I've done here is I've filtered out internal traffic. So that's why I called it my master view. That's the view I will go to most of the time. It's all of everybody and all sections of my website, but I've excluded some traffic, i.e. internal traffic, and maybe some other bits which you should fill that filter out, and created a nice clean view of my data. But I also have other views. I have a view of just people who come from Birmingham, because we're setting up an office in Birmingham, and I want to see what happens to the traffic who's coming from Birmingham. I've got another one, a Google Ads view. So that's only people who come from Google Ads. So you can create views based on where people come from, geographically, where they come from on the web, but you can also create views of sections of your website. So that's what a view is. You'll have a main master view, and you should also have a test view. A test view you should have because I say there isn't anywhere in analytics you can really break it apart from here. In filters, you can break your analytics. If you get a filter wrong, you can't get the data back. So a filter will remove some data for you. So you say, I don't want people who come from a certain country I don't want people from France being counted in this analytics. I can filter it out. Because I'm trying to clean my data up to just be our genuine real customers. So I'm going to put some filters in there. If you get that wrong and you filter out more than you expected to filter out, you can't get that data back because you don't have access to the raw data. So I always say have a test view so that you can test your filters. If you're not confident about putting them in, you can test your filter in your test view and you're not going to spoil your main reporting view. So those are views. goals, filters, and various other settings are set in at view level. Make sure you have a view which excludes internal traffic. Several companies, I've said to them, really, there's no point in looking at that data. It's just so much internal traffic. You just can't see really what's happening very easily. And it's a good idea to have a test view. You can actually have 25 views per property, so 25 views of your data. Now we're going to look at goals and funnels. So goals and funnels are set at view level. And the kind of things which we'd normally count as a goal are things like somebody completed a contact form. So they fill in a form, get to a thank you page. They complete an order, maybe again get to a thank you page. Register to become a user member. Again, you should take people to thank you pages. So these are all what are called destination goals because they are going to a destination page. Here we have event goals. If I click on a button which takes me to a PDF page, there's no GATSI code, Google Analytics tracking code on a PDF page. So I would have to put tracking code around or a tag around the download a PDF button. And then I can see that as an event. And from an event, I can create a goal in analytics. Same with clicked on our email address, same with clicked on our phone number. Those are event goals. And also, if you wanted to track people using your live chat, it could be an event. You could decide, do I want to include that as a goal? There are a couple of other goals, like people who are more engaged. Engagement goals, those are things like they spent longer on the site than you set a goal that you want people to spend longer on the site and they actually did that. Or they visited a certain number of pages can also be a goal. If you're e-commerce, don't forget, and have an e-commerce website like Shopify, Magento, or BigCommerce, etc. You should have e-commerce set up. But you can also use goals as well, maybe in a separate view, maybe in the same view. Just be careful about double counting. So once you've set a goal up, you can see how well things perform to those goals. Here's an example of a report called the Source Medium report, very popular report. Actually, no, this one's a default channel grouping report. So it says organic search, paid search. I want to compare how well my organic traffic does in comparison to my paid traffic. I can look along here and I can say, okay, I can see here how well Google Organic does. Now just organic and against paid in terms of visitor numbers or visits. Also, are they good at driving awareness by driving in new users? Are they good at engaging people? And again, there's not huge amounts of difference here. Again, you shouldn't be making too big a judgments on small differences. But then I could do it by goals, and you can see just here by the goal value, well, people coming organically are converting and more valuable than people, I mean, partly because of the numbers, and I can see how well those channels are performing by each of the goals I set up. So you can leave it as all goals, or you can choose a specific goal to see how many people actually booked, how many people downloaded this brochure from these various sources. You can imagine if I didn't have goals, I'm kind of missing a big chunk of my data. Yeah, they may be engaged, but really what I want to know is, did they convert? So if you don't have goals or e-commerce set up, you're missing really a key part of your data, key insights that you need to make decisions. Here's another example. This one is the Source Medium report. And I can see T.co, that's actually Twitter. I can see they got 6,000 visits from Twitter from 1,184 new users. And so I'm getting an idea of how well Twitter is working. And I can see the bounce rate, how many pages, they're visiting quite a few pages, so 5 pages on average, and they're spending over 4 minutes on average on the website. Then the next two here are Facebook. And I can say, okay, well, Facebook is driving more traffic. I can see Facebook is driving nearly 10,000 people in comparison to Twitter's 6,000. Facebook, by the way, is mobile Facebook, and that's desktop Facebook. And I can see Are they? Oh yes, it's better than Twitter for driving new users. So it's better at building awareness, I can see here. But are they more engaged? Oh, well, they bounce more and they spend less on the page. They visit less pages and they spend less time on the pages. So, yeah, okay, whilst Facebook looks better here, I'm thinking over here, maybe it's not so good, the traffic coming from Facebook. And if I look at conversions, that reaffirms that I'm getting here a 4.8% conversion rate from Twitter and a 2% conversion roughly from Facebook. And that would tell me not to stop doing Facebook. It would tell me Facebook is working well at the moment at driving new visitors, but they don't seem to be that engaged or that converting that highly in comparison to Twitter. So what are we doing different in Twitter that we could learn from and bring into Facebook? And what are we doing in Facebook that we are driving more new users and larger volumes that perhaps we can implement within Twitter? So what can you learn from your conversion data? Well, you can learn who the best converters are. Who are the people who convert by age, by gender, by city, by country, by what devices they come on, and various other things. So you can determine a bit like who is your best audiences. You can say, how did these people find us? The ones who converted, how did they find us? What source, what medium did they use? Which is kind of drives into this. Which ones do we get from referral websites? Which referral websites work the best at driving our most valuable customers? Which ads drive our most valuable converting customers? How does SEO drive our drive new and valuable customers? Which email campaign is working the best? Which social media platform is working the best? Which social media posts or tweets, etc., are working the best? Which other campaigns are we doing? So I can interrogate all this to really find out what is working and what isn't working. Remember, we also need to look a bit further rather than just those conversions. When I was looking at those conversions before, I was looking at last click conversion. So I need to also double check down here my conversion paths, my assisted conversions and my attribution models to determine what actually influences these decisions the best. Which one makes people come on our website who may then come back later and buy, or it's going to influence people the best. And then I can also look at what pathways did people who did convert take. What seemed to be the best landing pages? What was the best flow? What was the best direction to take people in? What was the best? And I can look at behavior flow paths. I can also look at funnel paths. If I'm on e-commerce, I can look at things like my abandoned cart reports. So you can learn a lot from the data in Google Analytics to be able to influence your marketing and influence your website and influence things like your targeting. So remember, we have different types of goals. We have destination goals. You can have 20 goals per view. You have destination goals, thank you pages, etc. You can have event goals. That's clicked on a button, whether it's a phone number, whether it's pay by PayPal button or download a PDF button. You can track events and then count those as goals. And then you have these engagement ones. A user visited over 5 pages, for example, or somebody spent over 10 minutes on your website. Could be goals, especially if you're a publication or that kind of website, content-based website. So how do you set up a goal? Well, in analytics, you go to your admin, you go to your view level, and there's a button called goals, click on that, and you'll go through a small process, pretty quick. And the third part of that process is to define your goal. To define your goal, I've gone destination equals to, and the URL. These are called relative URLs because I don't need the WWM training bit. I don't need the domain name. And I can just go equals to, thank you for contacting us. So that's the URL, the relative URL. I can allocate that a value. I don't have to, but I can give it a value if I can think of a good sensible value to give it. And I don't have to, but I can also create a funnel. A funnel will help me see how people got there and where people dropped off. So my funnel here says people who visited the home page, how to apply page, and then contact page. So that's my funnel. The final step of it is they got there. The conversions will be anybody who gets there. They don't actually have to come down this funnel. If they could come from the how to apply straight there, that would also work. If they could go from somewhere completely different, get to the contact form, get here. As long as they get here, they're counted as a conversion, unless I turn this on here. If I was to turn that on, I would only count conversions for people who come through step 1, which in this case is the home page. Therefore, if somebody came directly or somehow else onto the contact page and converted, it wouldn't be counted, but only if I've got that on. Normally we don't turn that on, but there are times when we do. Here's a time when we've done it. So this is a membership process. They have to fill in about 4 steps on the membership application, and we want to track that. In this case, we don't want to count people strangely coming in and out of our funnel. We want to say, okay, from start to finish, this is what they need to do, and we're only going to count that. So we've made our required step, first step required. So that's where they put in their initial details. They put their user details in there. They then fill in another couple of forms, and then they get to this thank you page, this confirmation page at the end. So that's our funnel. That is our goal conversion step. And then I put in here a value. So because they know what the value of the membership is, they can put it in here. So that's creating a funnel path with the step on required with a value. Now you can use, it's a bit more advanced, but not very difficult. You can use regular expression, which are bits of effectively like certain characters which can be used to help you define goals, and to particularly used in funnel paths actually. So in here I've got my destination goal, regular expression, products /.star/thanks. Because I want to track specifically people who have gone to this products thanks page, rather than putting in regular expression thanks to HTML, I just want people who have basically purchased the product, but I don't care which product it is. So that could be products / I don't know, blankets, products / sheets, products / whatever. That basically kind of means whatever is in here, it doesn't matter, but they have to have something in there. So it's basically defining a URL, but giving it a bit of flexibility. If I put regular expression in my destination, I can also put it in my funnel. In fact, I just basically have to select regular expression here to be able to use regular expression characters in my funnel. So unfortunately, we don't have time to cover that today, but can be useful if you have complex URLs or URLs, e-commerce style URLs with numbers and bits and pieces in. So in here, we're looking at our funnel path report. Your funnel path report can be found in your conversion reports. And I can see here, this company sells baby mattresses. This is their baby mattress page where their customer can choose 3, 4 products. I think it's 4 products. If they choose that, this is how many people went from the mattress page to the cot bed. They selected the cot bed. That was 31% from the mattress page, selected the cot bed page. And you'll see that's 657 people. But then it jumps to 963. And that's because 306 people have joined the funnel at this stage. They didn't see this page. So that tells you that whatever great messages you put on here, this 269 who entered here have joined the funnel and they haven't seen those messages. Out of the people who visited the cot bed page, we can see 795 dropped out of the funnel, out of which 435 actually left the website. The others went to other pages of the website. I can then see that out of that number of people who visited this page, 17.5% roughly dropped the product into the shopping cart. Again, you'll see this number changes, 168 to 217. That's because other people have dropped other products, but they've got into the shopping cart page. And then the 217 here at the shopping cart, 95 have exited, out of which 41 have actually left the website. Others have gone back to other pages, etc. And then 56% of the people who dropped the product in the shopping cart checked out. You will see some weird anomalies here, like 58 people have now joined at the checkout complete page. How's that happened? Well, there'll be a chunk of those, there's various reasons, but there's a chunk of those will be at some point there's a pay by PayPal button, or Sage Pay, I think it's Sage Pay or whatever. They've gone off, they've left, they haven't used their, the facility they offered, they've gone off to Sage Pay or Pay by PayPal, and they've paid those routes. And when they've done that, the session is ended, but they've come back at the end of those process of purchasing, they're sent back finally to the checkout complete page. So that's what these people are. And there's the membership one. The difference here you'll see is nobody is joining the funnel. That's because this was a required step. So we often do it for things like if we're doing Google Ads landing pages, I want to see how well a landing page is doing. I'll do this in my test view. So I'll go, okay, let's try one landing page against another landing page. How well did it drive conversion? And I only want to measure people who came from that landing page. Event goals. To set up an event goal is a bit more complex. First of all, you have to get your developers or person who runs your tag manager account to set up the event for you. The event could be somebody clicked on a button or downloaded a PDF or etc. When they create the event, they put in a label for they put a name in for the category, and they can put a name in for the action and for a label. Now, they don't have to do all three, they can just do one of those things, but one has to be put in. Then it will be picked up as an event, and you'll see those in your event reports. If you go to your event reports, you will see the category action label, which have been used by the developer. Then you can come into your goals, and you can click event goal rather than destination, and then you'll get here category action label, and you can copy whatever the developer's done. However, what if they call the category contact form, then I can put that there. And if they click the action as sent, then you can put that in there. You don't have to put more than one in, you can just put one in, but that helps you define the event you want to mark as a goal. You can give it a value, put it in a value yourself, a bit like the other goals, or sometimes within the code which the developers put in, they put the value, in which case you can select to use the event value as the goal value. And then you click save, and there you are. You have created a goal. So I'm going to quickly show you, I haven't got time to show you both the event and the destination goals, but I will quickly now show you how to create a goal in analytics. So sorry if I just go here. So if I go to here, goals, I can see existing goals. If you've got existing goals, good idea to click on them, see how they're set up, check they're set up correctly. Here I can click add new goal. If I'm adding a new goal, it'll give me a range of templates to choose from, which is fine. If you want to track people signing up to a newsletter, you can click that one. I generally skip all that and just click custom. I then click continue, and let's say they completed contact form. So that's somebody completes one of your contact forms. So give it a nice sensible name here, which you can understand. You have a goal ID. If you're starting from scratch, then think of your most important goal, put your most important goal in first and call that goal 1. Not that it really matters, but it makes it a little bit tidier. Then remember, there's my event. If I was using event, but I'm going to choose destination because I'm going to use a thank you page. If I click continue here, you'll see to define my goal now, I've got equals to, I can use begins with or regular expression. So I'm going to go equals to. Now it goes mtraining / contact us / thanks, for example. So that might be the thank you page. Once they've been to the contact us page, there's a form on there, they complete it, they get to the thank you page. If I want to, I can allocate it a value here. If I can think of a sensible value, like what's our average order value, for example. And here I can put in a funnel. So I could say, okay, maybe we go all the way back to the home page. We don't usually, but we can do. Okay, there's the home page. Here, let's say they choose courses page. And then if I go /courses / then they choose a specific course. And let's say it's /courses / analytics / and then another step. So obviously I'm just making this up as I go along a bit here, but yeah, you have to put in proper URLs here for it to track it, obviously. And then let's say they get, after getting to the courses page, they then get to the contact page. They've decided to contact us page, and that's /contact -us. So that's the URL. And then when they complete the contact form, they get here. And I want to track that as a goal. Now, again, I can turn on that, which would mean only track people who come through the homepage. I don't want to do that. I just want to know how many people fill that in. And I want this funnel to give me further report. And if I was to click save now, as of tomorrow, that would start tracking that. And I could then look at these reports and see what's actually happening to people. So those are goals. You don't have to create a funnel, but it's a good idea. You should have goals set up. You've got to look through your website, determine what goals you want to use, and go in there and set it up. So that is setting up a goal and a funnel path. Once you've got your funnel path report, you can look, say, oh, there's the people who completed our inquiry form. Let's say if we've got a certain drop-off rate on our form page, how can we improve it? How can we make it easier to complete? Can we remind them of the benefits? Don't forget they came in here at a landing page, for example. You told them how great it was. They've gone and looked further detail. They're now on a form page. They may be several minutes away from that, and they may be sort of forgetting some of the key benefits which you told them on this page. So maybe I want to remind them of some of the benefits in here, remind them of the guarantees they're going to get, remind them of the returns policy or whatever it is that you need to do, and test it. And then move back and look at your product page. What can we do to improve the product page? Maybe it's better photos, maybe it's more customer testimonials, etc. How can we improve our funnels in order to increase our conversion? So here we're back at the source medium report. I'm looking down here. Remember, I can choose a specific goal here, or I can choose all goals, and I can see how well are we converting people. Here I can see Google Ads, CPC is cost per click, Google Ads, and there's Bing Ads. I can look along here and say, how well do they perform? Okay, I can see here, Bing Ads has a higher conversion rate than Google Ads, but Google Ads is better at driving more traffic, fairly obviously. But I might go, okay, given that that has a better conversion rate, by the way, again, if it was 9.36 and 8.89, I would say that's not statistically significant. But here, 8.89 to 12.35, I could say, yeah, that's, it's almost 50% better than that. So that looks statistically significant. If I'm still thinking my data is a bit too small, expand your date range. Is that really true? Sometimes when you extend the date range, you find something which looked like it was true, expand it out, say, well, actually, over a longer period of time, that hasn't really been the case. So do expand your date range, and then you should be able to see which one drives the best traffic. And you can say, okay, well, maybe we should move some of our budget from Google Ads into Bing Ads. Let's see if we can give that a bit of a push. So once you've got your goals, you can determine which channel was the most effective at driving conversion, which campaigns are you doing the best. Do we need to change the messages on some of our key landing pages, do some tests to see which messages work best, what marketing activities should we invest in more, which ones should we do less of, and which pathways lead to the best conversion. Without goals, that's not really possible. Don't forget to look in your assisted conversion report. Here you'll find that under your conversion reports. You'll see assisted conversions. The analogy I often use is a footballer. I'm going to go, how good is Harry Kane? And I go, remember Google uses last click attribution? Well, let's think of that as last kick attribution. So we say, how good is Harry Kane? Let's say Harry Kane is social network. Well, he scored 37 goals. So in our last kick, he scored 37 goals. So he was the one who kicked it in the net. If I just value Harry Kane on that, I'm kind of missing the big picture, because if I look over here, I can see Harry Kane also passed it to somebody who scored 60 times. So actually, perhaps Harry Kane wasn't the right example here, because here he's working more as an assist, somebody who's assisting the goal scoring rather than a last click. If I got rid of him, I would be getting rid of the 37 conversions here, possibly, and probably a certain chunk of that 60 assists as well. So I might find that there's quite a big dent in our conversions if I was just say that's not working. So do look down, because I've looked at that 37, that's not much, spending too much effort on it. Social media, let's get rid of social media, but you will also be damaging your assists. So do go down and check your assists, etc. E-commerce reports. So we're going to have a quick look through. We haven't got time enough to look through e-commerce reports properly. There's about 9 or so e-commerce reports you get, which are addition to what people who aren't e-commerce will get. But you do have to set that up. So you have to set that up actually on your the way your website works. It has to pass code, pass data from the receipts page into the Google Analytics server. And then you'll be able to, if you turn it on in your admin, Google the enhanced e-commerce and just your standard e-commerce reports, you will get a lot of additional data. You'll be able to see revenue, e-commerce rates, transactions, average order values, but you could then subdivide that, and I could see what's our revenue from Facebook, what's our revenue from social media, etc. I can also get data on things like what products have sold, what quantity, who's buying them. I can get sales information, what's our best performing days, etc. I get transactions, where I can find out where we get on most transactions from. And you also get reports such as time to purchase. How long did it take when they first came to when they purchased? If I have enhanced commerce set up, I get more information about the shopping basket and where people are dropping out of the shopping basket. So I get more information about the general checkout process. I also can get information on things like the use of coupons in my checkout. And I can also get information on the internal marketing, for example, internal banners on your website. Typically, e-commerce rates are around 3%. Business to business or general sites where you're just making an inquiry, it's very hard to get reliable data on that. But I imagine it's probably a similar amount, maybe a touch higher than that. But it does depend very much on businesses. So here you can see, even in e-commerce, people selling consumer electronics getting an average from this research of 1.4%, but people in the gifts market getting 4.9%. So it does vary a lot. But you should be getting over 1% really, ideally, but it does depend a bit what you're getting. And your aim is to try and just slowly but surely increase your conversion rates. If you're only getting 3% or 4% or 1%, it does mean the vast majority of all your visits are not converting. So that feels like it's a large chunk of people not converting. If you could just convert a small number more, it could be much more effective than, for example, spending a load more money getting more people on the site. So there is opportunities in that. Lots of room for improvement to your marketing, to your website, and Google Analytics is the tool which hopefully will allow you to use data and your own logic and your own ideas to actually improve it and get more mileage out of your budgets and more from the time that you're putting into your websites and your marketing. So thank you very much. I hope you found this seminar useful. We're going to go to Q&A now. but this recording is going to stop. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you sometime on one of our courses.